We were on a very strong footing in the Supreme Court. The whole nation has seen that the government revoked this because they were going to lose.
I want to believe our victory will be when we resolve the issues.
I don't look at it as a fear of the government or they losing, but I look at it as the government extending a hand of reconciliation.
When they revoked, I always want to see the positivity. I wanted to see it as if they are saying we made mistakes. We don't want to be in an accusatory mode when these talks are going to happen. It's like going to a war or a battle with a baby in hand. If I was alone, it would be a different story. If we had gone on with guns blazing still, what do we achieve?
We would have liked that the judiciary too gave its judgment, which would have set a precedent.
We will be flexible because we do not expect everything that we want to be fulfilled. You cannot imagine this environment of fear and suppression where people couldn't voice.
My learning has been, as a poet put it, Jodi toma ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে।
कर्म किए जा, फल की चिंता ना कर, अगर है भी ऊपर कोई तो वैसा ही बरकत देगा.
When a ship is sinking, it is the rats that leave the first. And when Titanic is sinking, the musicians that keep playing till the end and who stay with the captain.
Hello and welcome to HT's weekly talk show, The Interview. In the past, when one spoke of Ladakh, one thought of Sonam Wangchuk. Now it seems to be the other way round. Speak of Sonam Wangchuk and one thinks of Ladakh and its issues. Also in the past, it was only Sonam who was the crusader and the fighter. Now it is also his wife, Gitanjali Angmo, who has demonstrated the never die spirit. Equally, it is true that while Sonam Wangchuk is the face of the agitation and struggle in Ladakh, it is his wife Gitanjali who fought single-handedly for his release from jail. And she succeeded despite threats to her life. Therefore, today, whenever Sonam is on public platforms without her, people ask, where is Gitanjali? We here did not want to make that mistake, so we did what was expected and should have been done by bringing you both voices. Sonam Wangchuk and his wife Gitanjali, who has partnered the hardship, the horror and the trial both inside and outside court. So listen in to Gitanjali and Sonam about the ordeal and whether government action has mellowed them, or is the fight still on? Let's find out in this edition of HT's weekly talk show, The Interview. Welcome to the show, Sonam Wangchuk and Gitanjali Angmo, and thank you for being here with us. So happy to see you together yet again, and thank God the ordeal is over.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us.
How does it feel, Gitanjali? Is it really, thank God, and now a sigh of relief?
It's great to be back and to be back to one's life and one's work.
Sonam, and I'm going to address you as Sonam. Do you echo what Gitanjali is saying?
Totally. It's great to be back to doing things that are meaningful. But at the same time, I'll say that I'm neither very excited now, nor was I very down when I went to the jail.
Why is that? Explain that to me.
I don't know. It's something that I have groomed myself to be not too excited or too down and depressed, stay equanimous in all situations. So, yeah, happy to be, as she said rightly, back to doing meaningful things. Otherwise, I had to make meaningful whatever was happening. That was also okay, but this is even better.
Let me put this question to Gitanjali first. How did it feel when the government actually revoked the order? What was your first reaction? Was it, I don't believe it, or is it actually happening kind of a thing?
No, it was definitely that it is happening because we were on a very strong footing in the Supreme Court. The case had been very well fought, and layer by layer, we had shown how Sonam's allegations were all false. I was thinking even in December that he would be released, if we did not have Tariq pe Tariq. The decision of the government to revoke it was based on the case having been very well fought in the Supreme Court. So sooner or later, I knew that either the court will give an order to our favor or the government would revoke it.
Do you think it was the fear? And I'm asking this to both of you. Do you think it was the fear of losing in court? And because, as you said, it was a strong case that the government caved in?
So I would not like to see it as a fear or win or loss. I think we have to look at it differently, that it has to overall benefit Ladakh, it has to benefit the country, and it has to benefit the situation for everybody concerned. So I don't look at it as a fear of the government or they're losing and therefore they did it. But I look at it as the government extending a hand of reconciliation, and we, rising to that occasion so that a good can happen to Ladakh. Sonam, what do you think?
So, yes, the picture was like that. There were not many ways out, but we don't want to go into fear of losing, as she said. I want to believe, truly believe, in the revocation letter or order where they said it is to build trust. I didn't go to jail for myself, so I wouldn't, gloat in victory and all that. I want to believe our victory will be when we resolve the issues for which we had so much struggle on both sides. And that will be something we look forward to rather than split these things into wins and losses.
So our victory and Ladakh's victory and India's victory, they all go together.
Why do I get the feeling that both of you have somehow mellowed from the initial fighting mode that you were in?
I would say that when they revoked, I wanted to see it as if they are saying we made mistakes, we made errors. And for me, anyone in any bitter interaction, when they realize that and take corrective steps, I want to give them that opportunity to make things better. We could have been bitter. Many people ask me, where is the bitterness? I could have been bitter. I could have made statements accusing back and making others look broken or defeated. But that will not solve. So I always say it's like going to a war or um, a battle with a baby in hand. If I was alone, it would be a different story. So I have to think of the baby. I've come to rescue a baby from a war scene, which means the issue of Ladakh, to bring it to a resolution. Now, if I take out my vengeance or something and continue to keep attacking while I have rescued the baby, and then I come out victorious, but the baby dead because I overdid that, that would be stupid. That would defeat the whole purpose why I have been in this struggle. We don't want to be bitter or in an accusatory mode when these talks are going to happen, out of which we truly believe that, as they say, trust for a meaningful dialogue.
And I would not say we have mellowed down. I would say that we are gracious because we are victorious. The whole nation has seen that the government revoked this because they were going to lose. So as a victor, you have to be gracious.
Yes, exactly. I totally support that. Yeah.
Yes, but isn't this a kind of a turnaround, Sonam, from when you said Sonam in jail would mean more trouble than Sonam out of jail.
But it has happened. It has awakened the national consciousness. I mean, we did not win this case only because of well-fought case. It was also the country supporting us.
And it has gone almost to the script that I said. Look at how it ended. They had to think of all the further consequences, and there could be even more damage. So there came a point when they saw that not only is it good sense to revoke an error that had happened on their part, but also to start a process for true resolution of the issue itself. Now, that was my main cause.
And a ceasefire that culminates in cooperation going forward is always better than one side winning or the other side losing. So, cooperation, collaboration is the key. It is not about personal egos or arrogance or vendetta.
Let me put it another way. Okay, we would have won the case, or the orders were revoked, charges were taken back. And if we had gone on with guns blazing still, what do we achieve? I may look great as the person who took on the government and defeated them, but if they then take it on us with the issue, the baby that I was talking about, then I and my ego has got what it wants, but not my cause. This is one mistake so many people, so many leaders make. And therefore, this world is very hellish because things don't get resolved. They keep fighting.
Having said that, we would have liked that the judiciary too gave its judgment, because that would have helped India, that would have helped the Indian legal system, because it was a very well fought case. It had a lot of legal nuances, which would have set a precedent against, unlawful detention and the misuse of NSA in future. The executive rose to its highest and revoked, and we appreciate that. But the judiciary also should have risen to its highest and given an order which would have set a precedent.
If I'm not mistaken, when Mr. Sibal went back to court for an order, they dismissed it and said, what is there left now?
Yes.
There's a lot left, because how it should not happen again. When Sonam says that he has no complaints against the jail, it is not because jail is a 5-star hotel. It's because he has the positivity to use it to the best of his ability. When I say that I am not bitter, it's not because I had an easy time. It's because I used it to grow and strengthen myself. But that does not mean that this should happen to somebody else. So there should have been a judgment, which should have prevented this kind of illegal misuse of power in future.
Which the court has refused to give?
Yes, the case has been dismissed. So, in effect, it has refused to give.
Sonam, what about your statement that Sonam in jail is more trouble than Sonam outside?
So the nation was woken up to such things happening in our country. And that's what I meant, that this will awaken the nation and it will then prevent such things from happening to others. Yes, we regret that it couldn't be taken to its logical conclusion because it was dismissed now. So while I and Ladakh may have gone closer to our goal, but for the nation, the precedent that could be set to prevent so many things that might be happening and may happen in the future did not happen as much as we would have liked.
While you are magnanimous and gracious, as Gitanjali said, she did fight a lone battle and nobody stood with her. Even the leaders, the apex body, when they went for talks with the government, they didn't bring your release as a precondition. In fact, to my knowledge, it was really not even on the table. It was a passive request that Sonam and others should be released. Your brother, who is part of the BJP, did very little. So what would you say to that?
Well, what is very true is that she did an amazing thing that I didn't know she could. And that's why I say she was a best kept secret, not only for the world, but even for myself. I didn't know she had these capacities as much as she showed during this. So that was amazing of her. But then I want to understand also other people's limitations. You cannot imagine this environment of fear and suppression where people couldn't voice. And I'm sure the leaders went through that also. They had very difficult times here. And I'm sure they must have done what they could under those circumstances. They had, yes, to think of the cause, because perhaps they didn't want to jeopardize the talks. I want to believe that way and go forward for a better, tomorrow.
Gitanjali, do you agree with that? Given that you were actually fighting that lone battle, you were under threat, there were many challenges. So, do you agree or do you feel let down?
No, as I had also spoken in my earlier interview with you, that I appeared to be alone, but I wasn't lonely. It's because, as you said, the nation stood up for me. From a Uber driver to the person in the jail was our well-wisher, to the friends who helped, to the positive messages that we were getting, to the media, people like you who took our voice to the rest of the world. Yes, it was a lone battle. If somebody could not do as they should have done, we would have the grace to say that I would have done it differently. But I understand that they must have had some, reason or some limitation for what they did.
And I'm sure people draw their learnings. People draw their learnings, and it's best if it comes by realizing things. I'm a teacher that doesn't believe in making people, believe in something or thrusting it down their throat. I had many learnings. She had many learnings. I'm sure people have learnings also, but we don't want to dwell in things of past. Always extend your hand and heart for brighter things to come.
And Kumkumji, as a student and teacher of the Bhagavad Gita, I know that the divine sometimes chooses an instrument for reasons best known to the divine. And I feel here that it was such a big task that it was not my strength that was the reason that we came out of it victorious. It was the divine's hand guiding through it. It was the divine who chose perhaps me as an instrument. And I would like to remain forever grateful for this experience that we got.
Before I come to the obvious question of the lessons learned for both of you and unlearned, let me ask you, Sonam, do you believe so strongly or as strongly in God and the divine as Gitanjali does?
We are very different that way.
I thought so.
She's a very strong believer. I'm at best an agnostic. I don't know if there is an power that decides things, but I'm no one to not believe also. So I take the middle path of I'm ready to believe when I see enough reasons and evidences, but I believe in the karma. So we do the right and the right will come. So कर्म किए जा फल की चिंता ना कर, अगर है भी ऊपर कोई तो वैसा ही बरकत देगा.
So, when you said that you wait for evidence, have the past 6 months given you enough evidence that there is somebody, the divine, as Gitanjali would say, helping out?
This is very interesting that you asked. I have been telling her, look, your divine is after me to make me believe. And you know what? It's having a slight effect. And I started using the word divine when I would discuss things. It actually looks divine that this happened this way and not that way. So, yes, it is inching towards giving me reasons to think that how can this? There were, we'll go into details some other time. There were many occasions that only one way it could have gone forward. Otherwise, it would have gone down into Patal Lok, if there is anything like that. So many occasions. There was only one way out, and always that way out came in front of us. So yes, I tell her, if there is a divine, then it is really working hard to make me believe. She already is a strong believer, and I am being pursued and worked on. And as I said, I'm open. I'm open to believe or not believe based on logic and evidences.
3, Sri Aurobindo says that the world is not built by random bricks of chance. A blind God is not destiny's architect. There is meaning in each curve and line. I believe in this pervasive intelligence. It's like radio waves, which are pervasive, but you only experience it when you have an instrument called a transistor and you tune it to that particular FM, mode. So that is spirituality. The instrument is us. Tuning is the path of sadhana and yoga, and then you are, plugged into that intelligence which guides you.
Good comparison. But coming back to my original question, what are the lessons learned and unlearned? And also, what about those who did not visibly stand by you, which is, and this I ask Sonam, which is the leaders and some of the family members who could have helped but did not?
Lessons learned are that truth always prevails. I was telling my students the main lesson that we learn here is we should be with the truth and Satyamev Jayate. I don't want to go into who did what, who did not do what. I want to believe they had good reasons to do what they did and issues or challenges which prevented them from not doing what they couldn't.
Gitanjali, what would you say?
My learning has been, as a poet put it, Jodi toma dak shune kyo nad ashe tobe akla cholore. As Sonam said, with truth as the goal, victory will be yours. And on the way, people who stood up for you, you don't forget that for the rest of your life. People who did not stand up for you, you also don't forget for the rest of your life. Because learnings are about also not just yourself, but also about people. Because when a ship is sinking, it is the rats that leave the first. And when Titanic is sinking, the musicians that keep playing till the end and who stay with the captain are the ones who have to be acknowledged with gratitude for the rest of your life. So it has shown us, doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani, the swan is able to take milk out of water. So one should not be foolhardy again after the event. Earlier, people got my trust as a gift. Now they have to earn it. This has been my lesson and my learning.
So, moving on, Sonam, let me ask you, why was the government targeting you? And I know you may not agree with the word targeting, but given that you were BJP's poster boy, if I may use the term, why do you think the government really got after you?
I don't know if I was the poster boy. Definitely, I was very happy when they made Ladakh a union territory. People in Ladakh felt that they have got UT without the safeguards that this kind of fragile place and people need. That's when we started raising our voice, particularly because this same party that gave us this freedom of being a union territory had promised, and in no uncertain terms, they had promised amidst crowds of people that we'll give you 6 schedule safeguards. And in 2 elections, it was promised. They had all the time. 2019 parliamentary elections, it was in the top 3 promises made to the people. Okay, you could make a mistake and say we'll give you 6 schedule safeguards. But 1.5 years later, autumn of 2020, in the prestigious Hill Council elections, it didn't go down in the list. It went to the topmost position to say our topmost promise is to provide Ladakh 6 schedule protection. And then to see them backtracking was difficult for me to digest. If they are unfairly retreating, then I have to, defend our people and our region. So I started supporting the leaders here who were struggling to put this point across that Ladakh was promised safeguards, and Ladakh had always demanded democracy, and Ladakh was stripped of that democracy, which it did enjoy to some small extent in the erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir. It had many problems, but we did have a voice in the assembly. So suddenly we had none. And that's when I joined to strengthen the leaders. That's when they had problems. When the issue that was very unfair to the people, indigenous people, and the place and the culture and nature was being voiced in an effective way to the nation and to the world, that's when the problem started. And I did it and tirelessly from anshans to padyatras, but always 100% peacefully. And we saw then industries coming and with plans to take over tens of thousands of acres of land, which would not, the way it was being done, would not lead to nature's safeguards nor cultures. So basically, these were the issues, yes.
And just to add to it, while Sonam did what he did, making people aware, but it inadvertently seemed to have, stumbled into the realm of politics. So that is where the clash happened.
In the first press briefing after your release, Sonam, you said, and I'm quoting you here, I was not looking only for a win. I was looking for a win-win or even a win-win-win. Can you elaborate on this?
Just a victory in the court would have made Sonam a victor. But if that made the other side hurt and defeated, that would come into play in the talks, in the negotiations. So it would have been a win lose. And therefore, I wanted that not just we win, but Ladakh wins. And that's why win-win, I said. The cause of Ladakh, if defeated, and then my winning doesn't mean anything. Thirdly, then, if government was gracious to let this be a precedent, a lesson learned for the nation to not misuse laws for right-thinking, upright citizens, after having taken a good step, like correcting what might have gone wrong in haste and hurry at this spur of the moment back in September, then it would have been a win-win-win. Win for Sonam Wangchuk and Gitanjali, and win for Ladakh, and win for the nation.
It is good that you have struck a conciliatory note and a give and take spirit. But what does this do to your demand of statehood and the sixth schedule? In fact, you did not mention either the sixth schedule or the demand for statehood in your first press briefing when you spoke about this give and take spirit.
Yes. So these talks and negotiations with the center has been going on now for 3 to 4 years. In all of these, after having promised in elections, in written, their stand was that we can't give you sixth schedule, we can't give you statehood. So on two main demands, one of them definitely something that was pledged and promised, on based on which two elections were won. So they were not willing to concede to either, any of them. Now, this was not going to help resolve the issue. So I wanted to hold them in that we will be flexible, because we do not expect everything that we want to be fulfilled. Having seen that they are going towards a win for center and total lose for Ladakh. No on both the issues. No on. So I have to retrieve it from a lose-lose for Ladakh. Total losing for Ladakh. Therefore, I was saying that we have to be flexible, because they hadn't been flexible. Indirectly, I was saying how it has gone so far is that total inflexibility on both the issues from on the part of the centers. And I was trying to hold the nation as a witness that Ladakh had taken the first step towards flexibility, towards give and take, and not just take and no give. Rather than gloating on victory, I was trying to sow the right seeds for the next talks, to say that in the next talks, if you take the same stand, no to this, no to that, then the nation will be witness that although Ladakh took a flexible give and take, the other side was only take and not give and take. And that's why. So, as for your other question, I didn't say either statehood or one of them will be okay. I said a mutually satisfactory resolution. I'm okay if people represented by the leaders are happy, satisfied with something they have to offer. So that's why the apex body co-chair has been saying, if you say this, then show us what you have to offer. That hasn't come yet. So it has to be mutually satisfactory. That is my criteria. My criteria is not this or that or hung up on one or both of the issues, but something that satisfies the people, even after all these tribulations they have gone through, and which satisfies the center.
You also said that if not both, at least one of the demands should be met. Which one are you willing to forego? The sixth schedule or statehood?
No. I didn't say in that way. If not both, one and a mutually satisfactory solution on the other. So it's not that one we give up and we go back with the other. It's that on both there should be a mutually satisfactory resolution. For example, if it is sixth schedule, then we should be flexible on statehood. If it is statehood given, then we should be flexible on sixth schedule. So something that fulfills our main purpose to safeguard the place and the people and give democratic rights like any citizen in the country for the people of Ladakh also. They deserve it as much, if not more, for being where they are strategically. So they shouldn't get a worse deal. Maybe not a better deal, but equal deal they deserve. And that's why I'm not saying one or the other or so on. Mutually satisfactory is my mantra.
We stop here, but we do not end the interview here. There is a lot more we need to ask Sonam Wangchuk, and both he and his wife Gitanjali have a lot more to say. So tune in next week for the second part of our conversation with Sonam Wangchuk and Gitanjali Angmo in HT's weekly talk show, The Interview.